Y'all know I'm a cheap ass. So in this one, I'm gonna show you how to build adjustable ride height for your 3rd gen Camaro, but cheaper than, you know, a lot of the options out there. Boys, I did it. I actually spent money. It's hard. But we need to get the ride height lower, and this is the cross member. I threw some paint on this stuff, on the control arms. And what I gotta do, first off, throw some bushings in there. I just went with the polyurethane bushings for that. And we'll see how it goes. I think it'll be just fine. We're not going for craziness, we just need it a bit lower. And because I want to be able to adjust the ride height, we have no idea how it's going to sit yet. I'm going to build a set of weight jacks. So there's a lot of companies out there selling weight jacks for these 3rd gen Camaros. And they're expensive, like real expensive. But I figure, you know what, we can make our own. We got a grinder, welder. And really what I think we need to do is I picked up these cheap springs. These are about $100 Canadian. And then all the 3 pieces from All Star, which is basically like a cup, a collar, and a bolt. And it should allow us to just adjust the top hat on the spring. Just with that welded in, probably up like that. They've got a handy sort of 3/4 inch square on there. And that should allow us to push the top of the hat like that. Should allow us to push the top of the spring down, or, you know, this piece up. So we got a bit of work to do. I'm gonna set this in the car and just see where the tops of this come out. Obviously we got a bit of, I'm thinking it's probably going to be in this area here. That's not where the spring goes. That's where the strut hits the top. There's like little strut tops there. But I'm going to set the cross member in the car and just see where that lines up. And we'll try and make some marks. Maybe we can start cutting. Well, I got the cross member on. I'm just under the car. And I just want to mark sort of the bottom, like the center of the spring mount, just so we can drill it through. And obviously I'm going to weld the collar. I'm going to reinforce this a little bit, but I'm going to weld the collar right in the middle there. And right on here. So it should come out sort of right, hopefully right square in there. That way we're not into the strut tower. And actually, yeah, because the jack bolts are pretty large. They're about 1.5 inches, so, or sorry, 1 1/8 maybe, or 1 1/16. But they're large enough that we're gonna have to drill some holes. But I just want to make a pilot right now, and just so I can have sort of a guide to use either a hole saw, or I don't know what I'm gonna do to get through that yet. But first that's in. I got both marked. Cross member back out. And we'll get after it. All right. Well, it's coming time to put some top mounts in. And what I did is I just made up a couple pieces of plate and some holes in them for the, I guess the little the bolt to go through. They got some holes in them, but it's only because I made them out of old winch brackets, ATV winch brackets. Metal's expensive, you got to use what you got. Holes won't matter to us, it'll be just fine. But just spun them in the lathe, so I got room for that to go through there. And then we'll set them right in the top and weld them all the way around. Obviously I got to tack that in first, but that should be plenty strong to hold our the top of the springs, especially once we get lots of weld on there. But right now I'm just going to tack the top in there. That way we can hold it from the other side. Excuse me. And that should keep us pretty grounded. I'm gonna just kind of eyeball it to get it straight. Unfortunately, I don't have a perfect way to do it, or I don't think it's super important to make it perfect, but we'll get it as good as we can get it. I'd say that's pretty good. Here goes nothing. It looks pretty good. It's getting hot. We got lots of weld on it though. Same thing, I think we got her pretty good. And time. Let's show you what we got. Turn my gas off. I did that already. I'm so paranoid of not turning the gas off and having to pay another $100 for more gas. You probably know what I mean. All right, let's see. We got that one burned in. That one. Well, that's it welded in. I got the everything burned into the top of the cross member there. And that's the bolt basically run down through the frame rail. And should be able to adjust ride height with that. That pushes down on the top of the spring. Same on the other side. You know, obviously I don't really know, you know, steering shaft and everything I've got to run, brakes and everything, you know, header. There's going to be some stuff in the way, but we're going to have to see how that goes as we go. But, you know, if we have to set ride height with the header off or something, you know, it's not going to be the end of the world. It would suck, but we'll just, I think the main thing is that we have ride height that we can move now. So yeah, I just got to take the cross member back out. We'll paint everything up there. We'll just touch some paint up there, and we'll put some control arms on it. See how it goes. All right. So I've got the control arm on, bushings in. I've got just polyurethane bushings in it. Weight jack bolts are in. And just what I'm going to do for now, I'm going to mock it up. I'll just put the spring hat in there. Line up with the bolt there. There. So spring in. Those are 900-pound springs. They might be a little bit much for this car. But better a little bit too much right now than not enough. And we'll add some more if we need. But that should allow us to move this whole control arm up and down. It basically moves the top of the spring, pushes down on the top of the spring, which, you know, will pull the car up. Right now it's pretty low, but we'll take that, and I'll just show you what it looks like there. You've got, you can pull that out or run it in, and that will allow us to adjust the ride height. Same on the other side. But we got to do the other side now. So one thing I missed showing you is when I welded that collar into the top of the shock mount, the collar was real cold because we're out in the, you know, cold garage in the middle of winter. And when I welded it, it warped that collar so the bolt wouldn't, you know, I had like probably a couple 100 foot-pounds on the bolt, and it wouldn't thread into that collar. It just mangled it. So I had to go out and get a good friend of mine, shout out Mr. Awesome, with, you know, the world's largest tap to cut the threads back in the collar, and that helped us out. So don't be like me. Just be careful when you're welding that collar in. If you do it this way, just be careful not to warp it at all, because man, it's a pain in the ass trying to get that through there if you warp that collar. So just be careful of that. So what do you think? I think it looks pretty good. I mean, obviously I got to get back down on the ground. I'm not anywhere near ready for that yet, but you know, as soon as we get some suspension parts and the wheel bearings and just all the other stuff that we need to put the wheels back on it and get it back on the ground, then we can adjust the ride height and make sure it all looks as it should. But I think it went pretty well. So I guess now we got to do the back one, and I got parts on order for that, so stay tuned.